Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I know I don't usually do the Chatty One on the Monday because it doesn't work as well as it does on the Sunday, and it's expected on the Sunday, but as I explained last week, this weekend Hannah was down and I decided I'm not filming, so I had pre-filmed a couple of videos for the weekend which I loaded one Saturday, one Sunday, so there was something there and they were part of a set, so they sort of followed on from each other. But anyway, I thought I'd do this as a Chatty One, not the Sunday chat, because it isn't obviously, but yes, it's just there's a lot of people say they like the Chatty Ones because I suppose it's a bit of me rather than just the plants, if you know what I mean, which is how it sort of works, and that's what this will be. There's some orchid stuff in there, some garden stuff, some planning on things to come. Yeah, so it was a good weekend. I mean, we spent some of Saturday and some of Sunday gardening, and all the mess and the clearing up and the stuff that's been dumped in the carport over a period of time, all that got taken up the recycling centre. Those racks that I had in here for my mounts when I first got round here, when I still had some mounts worth bothering with, they got thrown outside because they were no longer wanted. Those got taken apart and taken to the recycling centre because they were metal poles. So they have to go in a special place, and then the plastic just goes in normal recycling. So those are gone, so that's cleared up an area outside that was just looking like clutter. And all the bags of prunings and everything that we did, all those got taken away as well and swept up and everything. So if you're interested in what went on out in the garden, I've done a video that's already posted, so that's on Roger's Garden and Bonsai, that's the name of the channel, and it is a combined channel. And basically the latest video over there, posted earlier today, goes round the garden talking about what we did, so what's changed. There's a link to the previous video which was the before look, so I had a walk round late last week to show what the garden was like then and what the plans were, what I was hoping to achieve. Well, we actually achieved more than planned. That's unusual. It's normally less than. There was one thing got forgot, and it wasn't a big deal. It's tucked away in a corner that I don't look at, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, we got quite a bit done. We got rained on at the recycling centre, and thanks for that. Yeah, so a gardening session with videos over there if you're interested. And this will go full circle because this is to do with orchids. This is to do with my cymbidiums. And as you know, they're going to go outside soon. And to go outside soon, they need something to go outside on. And I have discussed building some new staging for the cymbidiums and putting it on casters so that I can put them in a position where they get morning sun, and then wheel the whole lot, the staging, out of the way so to avoid the midday sun and the strong heat and everything. So that's been on the cards for a while. Hannah comes up with ideas. And this is a combination of ideas. This is a mixture of the two, so some of each of us. And I was saying about, you know, building, I've got the staging, it's just in parts and not stained. And she said, if you have another lot of staging, like the one I've already got that the bonsai's on, isn't the garden going to start looking a bit cluttered, a bit more closed in? And I thought, yeah, you're right actually, but what else can I do? And then I got talking about the guy next door. There's some sheets of plywood in the carport, they're his, and he said, if you want them, just help yourself. So I confirmed this morning, because he's not well at the moment next door, he's had to have time off work and everything. So from a distance, I had a chat with him, and he just to confirm that was actually true. And that also follows on from Hannah's idea yesterday, because I was saying about using those plywood sheets to make some individual bonsai plant stands. So it's just like a little platform on a post really. But I said I can't, I've only got handsaw, and to try and do a handsaw cut on plywood and get it straight, and the posts and everything, I need the posts to have dead square cuts top and bottom, otherwise the post will be on a skew, or the post will be upright and the platform on the top will be over at an angle. They need to be dead square. I can't do that with a handsaw. And she said, well, why don't you contact Tony, that's my son, because when he converted his, when he did his camper van conversion and everything, he got all his own tools. And lots of that was plywood, sheeting and stuff to line the insides. And I'm sure he got his own tools. So I phoned up my son and said what I had in mind. I got some plywood sheets that I need cut, you know, into smaller sections and everything. And have you got your own tools? And he said, well, yes, I have. But he said, possibly better than that. They live in their converted camper van 2 weeks of the year. 2 weeks a month, and then the other 2 weeks they stay in somebody else's house, which is next door to the house they used to have, or you can call it a flat, single-storey dwelling, let's put it like that. They were eco-dwellings. So he gets to stay there 2 weeks out of the month, and when he's not staying there and the people whose place it is are actually in the place, he stays on a farm where he's got permission to park up and plug in to get everything charged up and everything. So, and that guy has got a workshop, which has got all the woodworking tools. So, you know, a workbench with a bandsaw, and power saws and routers and things. And he said, it should be okay because I've used the workshop before, I just have to sort of book a slot when the guy's not using it. So I'll get in touch with the guy and we'll book a slot in the workshop, because then we've got all the tools we need. We're under cover, you know, out of the wind, trying to do it outside and everything. And I said, well, I can mark all the cuts up here, what I want cut, and get it all marked up, and then chuck it all in the car and bring it to you. And then we'll get it all done and I'll come back with the pieces ready to go. So that was all agreed. So they'd come full circle again. So I was just checking with the guy this morning that he's definitely okay with me having that those plywood sheets, and he is. So that's in hand. That then leads, this is going to come back to the cymbidiums in a minute. You be patient. Be patient. So then we come back to building the new staging. And I said to Hannah, if I get 4 or 5 individual stands for my best trees, do I need this bonsai staging anymore? There's 4 blackthorn or quickthorn, whatever you call it. That's 4 that are left out of 6 because 2 died. They were bought to tie together to form a clump style bonsai, which I changed my mind about, because for the trunks to fuse and for it to look any good, you're looking at 10 to 15 years. I might not have that long. Hopefully I do. Otherwise the videos are going to get cut off a bit short, aren't they? But yeah, so those 4 plants that are left are going to go in the garden at the back of the planted border to be trained up as like a very thin hedge, which means instead of looking at a fence, I'll be looking at a green hedge. And blackthorn blooms on bare twigs really early in the year, like February. So we get some nice white blossom to look at, which the early foraging bees and things absolutely depend on, basically. So that will be good. And then, you know, that can be trained up against the fence. So we have some greenery rather than just bare wood. So that was that. And those are on the bottom shelf of the staging. There is a juniper in a pot that I plan on turning into a bonsai, which I haven't done yet. That pot can go anywhere. And the only other thing on the bottom shelf is my native orchid, my southern marsh orchid. That's in a pot, that can go anywhere. and then most of the trees on the top of that staging will either go on their individual stands when they're made, or they can go on the table with the maple bonsai, because there'll only be a couple. That leaves the staging free. I said we'd get round there, didn't we? Now the staging has got narrow legs. The legs on it are like 2x1. Yeah, you can't fix casters onto 2x1. But as we're cutting up plywood with machinery now, we can cut out some little 3-inch squares of the thick ply, yeah, and drill some holes, screw those plywood plates effectively, like coasters I suppose you could call them, like the size of a square coaster, onto the bottom of the legs, and then screw the casters into the ply. That solves the problem of getting casters. So we're going to be putting casters on the staging I've already got. So we haven't got to wait for me to build it and stain it. It's ready to go once I get the wheels on it. Yeah? And in theory I could still put the plants out on the staging without the wheels, because I can always lift them off and put the wheels on later, but I will probably get it all done together. So that's how we came full circle and came back to the cymbidiums. I want them out within the next week or two to get them out of the way, and to do that I need the staging to put them on. So it sounds like it can be organised such that the casters will come off of Amazon. They'll arrive in 1 or 2 days once I order them. The little plates of plywood to go on the bottom of the feet will get cut when we do the rest of the wood to make the individual bonsai staging. I mean, they're just going to be like, it'll be like a 2-foot square piece of ply as a base, a post coming up the middle, and then an oblong platform on the top to actually put the bonsai pot on. And they'll all be different heights. I don't want any two the same. I want them all different, so they'll have different sized trees and be different heights. And they can be positioned around the garden to make a feature of some of the trees. Because if you group all your bonsai trees together, it looks like a bush or a hedge. It doesn't look like individual trees. So having their own space is going to display those an awful lot better. Once the cymbidiums are out of the way in here, this is going to feel like it'll be nearly as big as the lounge, you know, and it's going to feel incredibly spacious. So that's good. Hannah went round all the orchids, showing interest in everything, like what's this one, what's this doing, what are all this mass of buds up here? I said, there are a mass of buds that are a bit silly. The black hair type dendrobium hybrid up there has just gone silly on the top of one of the canes. And given the size of the blooms, I'm not quite sure how it's going to actually open that many blooms without just looking like a ball of petals and sepals and lips all tangled up together. We shall see, because they're not too long from opening. So that'll be good. And yeah, as far as out here is concerned, it's just watering and feeding time now. You know, it's growing season. Starting to get some better temperatures in here during the day. By better temperatures, I mean better than 17 or 18. You know, we're breaking the 20 mark now and again. It's actually up to 24, 25 the other day, for part of the day. But that's an odd occurrence, so don't get that every day. So, but anyway, you know, things are coming on. I've got one bloom that I'm not sure you will have seen, which I can show you. It's a small bloom, but it's incredibly delicately pretty if I can get it close enough to the camera. It's a species. It's on the tag, it's got Anachelium pachycephalum. It's actually changed its name now to Prosthetia pachycephala, I think, or something like that, but it's a Prosthetia now, which I always thought it was really. And it has spikes like that. So it has spikes with quite a few blooms on, but they're spread out. And compared with most Prosthetias, they're quite small. And they don't look much at all, do they? Until you get close. If I can get this to focus on one handheld. And you can see the patterning. They're absolutely gorgeous when you get close up. So that's opened up, that's got several spikes on. It's got this big one over here still yet to start opening. There's a little tiny one cramped down in the middle of the plant that's got 3 buds on, 2 of which are open, but they're tangled up in the undergrowth. But there's 2 nice spikes coming out the top, so that's opened recently. That's a new bloom. And talking of blooms, we will still be doing everything in bloom on the 8th. So you've had a pre-look at one of them, but it's going to be a short video because there really isn't much now, and you know, I mean it, there really isn't much in bloom at the moment, not much at all. And quite honestly, there's not a huge amount in bud, so we're going to have a quiet spell. Things like the Oncidium types and the intergenerics, if they're not spiking yet, then they're not going to be in bloom until the autumn. That's if I can get them to spike, of course. Yeah? Coelogenes, probably no. I've got one in bud. Don't know whether I've shown you this. But don't hold your breath with this one. This is one of those coelogenes that behaves strangely. It is, oh, it's a cross. It's Eusitana crossed with Samaniana, I think it is. And it has sequential buds, one single large flower at a time, and that's that one. That may or may not bloom in the near future. Got a feeling it's one of those that forms a bud and then sits there and does nothing for ages. Possibly, we shall see. But there's that one to come sometime down the line. But yeah, there's not a lot coming into bud, so you know there's going to be a lull. These I got muddled up actually. Somebody said, "What's that bright red plant in the middle of the shot there? Is it a Cattleya?" Well, I looked at the video to see what was meant by the middle of the shot. The middle of the shot was this, the Pelargonium. What the person meant was the red Cattleya off to the side. Well, it wasn't in the middle of the shot, this was. So that was the answer they got. Got to be precise. But yes, the Cattleya's looking good. The other Cattleya that might possibly flower on the next new growth is actually in that glass container with some leca up on the bathroom windowsill. So it keeps it a bit warmer, gives it some extra humidity and some good light. So hopefully the next new growth on that should produce some blooms. But that's a long way away. I mean, new growth is only just a nubbin at the moment, just starting to push out. So well, that's that. And coming up this week is nothing. Saturday Orchid Society meeting. And hopefully we're going to sort out, I'm going to phone Lynn this week. We need a chat basically. I had a chat with Hannah. What used to be the Malvern show every year, always videos to go with that and everything. And lots of vendors, lots of Orchid Society displays. It's a big show, but it's moved and it's now at the Birmingham International Centre or whatever it's called. And we're in there this time as part of Gardener's World Live, and it's caused untold logistical and cost problems such that our normal show team don't want to do it because they can't afford to do the hotels. The campsite that used to be on site at Malvern, so they could park the van, unload, go up to the site, unload the orchids, go and park in the campsite and stay there for the 3 days. Everybody happy. Have a barbecue in the evening and some beers. Everybody happy. And no great expense and no travelling. Yeah? All nicely self-contained. Now, you've got to have special tickets to get in at the Birmingham Centre. You have to pay for parking every day, yeah? And there's no campsite nearby, so you've got to travel every day as well. And you're looking at travelling in to that centre on the outskirts of Birmingham on weekdays during rush hour. So all these logistics plus the expense, anybody who's not camping, who hasn't got a camper van or anything, is going to be looking at hotels. They're all expensive. You're near a huge city and an international centre that's also with the main railway station and the airport. So there ain't nowhere cheap. So people don't want to do it. But we got offered the chance of putting on a small display as part of the British Orchid Council's display that they've divided into 6 individual units with themes, and we're going to have one of those. That way the people that set the plants up for the display can go up at the beginning. Now some of those have to be there anyway at the start because they're judges and there's a judging symposium, so they have to be there to advance their judging knowledge and training and all that sort of stuff. So getting the plants up there and setting the display up is not a problem, but those people aren't staying, they're coming home. So somebody's got to go and get the plants and bring them back. And I said, well, I'll do that, I suppose, because I'd like to go and see the show anyway. I said I imagine Hannah might want to go. And of course then the immediate response I get is, well, you probably have to pay full price for Hannah because she's not a member. And my thoughts, not my words, said, well, who's going to know? You know, and this is the discussion we've got to have. I'm not happy to do it on my own. I'd like some help. I'd like some company for the drive and the day. Bearing in mind Wessex Orchid Society aren't there as a presence, I'm not going to know anyone, you know. So I would like to go with Hannah, and I will discuss with Lynn, but I think Hannah should get very, very special extensive discount to become a member, either for one day or for half a year, or become an honorary member for one day so that she can get the discounted entry like I'll be getting. The full price is something like 28 quid. Our discounted tickets are 8 quid or 10 quid. You know, you've got parking on top of that, plus the fuel there and back. But I said I'll go and get the plants, but I want Hannah to come with me. Now she can either come down on the Saturday with me and then we'll both drive up on Sunday, and then on the way home I can drop her off because I don't go past her house coming home, but I can go that way. So that way we both go to the show, we can both help pack the plants up and load them into the car, drop her off on the way home. That's all fine, but we're not happy about her having to pay full price to help me do something for the Orchid Society. I'm not doing it for me, am I? And do you know what her final line was when we were talking about it? What do you actually get out of this? What does the society actually get out of putting this display on? And I had to answer, absolutely nothing. Because we're not going to get any new members that far from home, are we? So we're not like on a membership recruit like we do at our own show. We've just got some plants and our name there. It doesn't get us anything. Now, normally at Malvern, a lot of the society members would go there and help look after the stand and get to see all the vendors and perhaps stock up on some new orchids. Very sort of happy social event. Whereas this time round, it's not like that. So to be discussed, basically. But you know, if you look at the fuel, and then look at the car parking, and then look at the entrance fees, it's quite a lot of money, and it's all going to come down on me. So either the society contributes heavily, which I doubt they will do, or somehow or other we wangle a membership for Hannah. so that then she gets the discounted entry, the same as me. Then we'll do it and happily do it. But I've said, you know, if I'm going to collect the plants, everybody who's supplying plants for that display needs to be aware they are coming home in an estate car as opposed to going up in a camper van. So I don't want any 8-foot tall flipping orchids, because if anybody puts any tall ones in there, they'll get led down flat on the back of the car because they won't fit in. So people have also got to be practical about what plants we actually put in the display. It's a very small display, it's like 3 foot by 2 foot. So there's not going to be a mountain of plants. But I don't want any ridiculously tall ones. They've got to go back in an estate car. What do you call them in the States? Estate cars? Tourers? Station wagons, are they? I've forgotten what they're called. I know they're not called estate cars, not in the States. But anyway, it's a car with a bit at the back, with a boot that opens up and a nice big space. And the back seats go down flat, so you've got a nice big flat space at the back. But not tall, just large and flat. So we'll have to work on it. That's to be worked on. So I got a phone call to Lynn to discuss all that. We haven't got a committee meeting between now and then, so this all have to be done via emails and flipping phone calls. And then I've got to deal, contact my son, or he will contact me now, and sort out getting all this wood cut up, ready to make all this staging. So there's stuff going on, but it's not necessarily orchids. The orchid stuff that will be going on is just general watering and feeding, and I've still got some repots. Unfortunately, some of the repots that are classed as urgent have decided to do blooming, and they are of a more delicate nature, so there's some plants I'd happily repot when they're in bloom, but there's some I won't. And there's some that I'm still waiting to start their new growth so that I've got some guaranteed new roots to come. So although they're classed as urgent, they're not that urgent that I'll do them not knowing whether I'm going to get new roots or not. So there's some of that going on. But there are some repots I can get on with. So, right, there's all that to do. And yes, so a chatty one about all sorts of things. We've also got, it's a bit worrying, but it has to come. Because Hannah only sees Mojo every 4 or 5 weeks or so, she said he's losing a bit of weight. He's starting to feel a little slimmer, and he's starting to look old. And I don't notice it. I see him all day, every day. But she said, if you watch him walk, he plods now. He's lost the spring in his step, sort of thing. He just plods away. But he still jumps up on the chair and up onto the my workstation. He still jumps up on the sofa, settee. He still jumps up. He still runs up the stairs. He walks down very carefully, but he runs up. So he's still quite mobile, but he's slow. He's getting slower. And also, he doesn't eat as much in one go. So like I put his breakfast down, and he doesn't eat all of it. He eats perhaps half of it, and then he goes out because he's been shut in all night, and then he'll come back and have a bit more. But sometimes he doesn't actually finish it till mid-morning, So he's not eating all of his breakfast in one go like he once did. So there are some changes going on. But he's 20, he's lucky to still be here really. But he's not going to be for a huge amount longer. That has to be accepted. So, we lost his brother a year and a bit ago. He's out in the garden with some stones on top, and Mojo will join him one day. So, but not yet, not yet. Last time he went to the vet to have his claws done, because his claws, being an older cat, they grow ridiculous or big. Sharpening his claws on his scratchy mat don't deal with them like they did when he was younger, so he has to go and have them trimmed. I can't do it. And he always has a little health check, and they weigh him and everything. And he'd actually put weight on from the previous time, But the vet said he's got a very slight heart murmur, which at his age might stay the same, but it ain't going to get better. It's either going to stay the same or potentially get worse. So I've got to watch his breathing, you know, the way his sides go in and out. And if that starts getting more pronounced or more rapid, then I need to contact them and he'll have to go in and get checked over. But as I said, he is getting on a bit, you know, as cats go, he's done very, very well. So yeah, so lots of things going on, but not necessarily lots of orchid things going on. I mean, I'm down to my last Cymbidium in bloom, and I'm down to this spike here is losing its first bloom, so then there'll be 3, so that spike's on the way out. That's the newest one, they're still okay. This one's going over, so soon there won't be any Cymbidiums in bloom until the end of the year again, so they'll be gone. They've put on a fantastic show. Oh, and on the Cymbidiums, the one with the virus, which I'm now happy to say it has a virus, I said, it's Hannah's plant, I said about it, and she said, well, how about, rather than dump it, how about put it outside somewhere sheltered and let it fend for itself, so that it's miles away from any of your Cymbidiums and any orchids, in a place where it can't do any harm, and see if it survives. And leave it out in the winter as well. Just leave it out there and see what happens. If it survives, great. It might even bloom again. But she said, rather than just dump it, why not just keep it outside? And I thought, well, if it went on the decking under the table, then it's sheltered from extreme weather, both wind, rain, and frosts. That would keep the frost off. It won't stop it freezing. You know, if the temperature goes down well below freezing, it won't stop the pot freezing. But so I said, okay, I'll do that. We'll find somewhere outside for it and see if it survives. It'll survive now, the summer, but if it survives the winter, great, it's still there next year. If it doesn't, then it goes in the bin. So that's what we're doing. That's the virus one. But as soon as I showed her the new growth, she said, oh yeah, definitely. So there was no debate. It's definitely, whatever's wrong with it is wrong with all of it. So that's sorted now. And yeah, it's coming up to lunchtime. And the final of the World Championship snooker is on this afternoon. Neither player are my favourite players, but one of them has been right near the top for some time now, and he's one of those that he'll have a bit of a laugh with somebody in the audience now and again. So he's got that sort of light-heartedness, but also the focus, you know, when necessary. But the guy he's playing is like he's not a newcomer. He's been around on the circuit, but lower down. He's never got this far before. I mean, he's in the final of the World Championships. That's as good as it gets. And even if he loses, you know, he was still in that final. But that match finishes this afternoon, or if it goes on to this evening, but it finishes today anyway. When it didn't finish yesterday, I thought, what on earth are they doing? And then I remembered it's a bank holiday today, so it's a holiday. So they've planned that so that it runs into Monday, but it's not a work day. So I got that this afternoon. Can't think of anything else. Yeah. So work over the weekend, some planting, some pruning, some tidying, some clearing up, trip up to the recycling centre out there, planning on what's going to happen with the bonsai and where things might end up and what it's going to look like. Yeah, so a lot of things going on out there, and some physical work to be done, woodworking and staining and doing up screws and getting the dreaded screwdriver blister. No, I won't get that ever again. I've got an electric one now. You must have had that. Anybody who's done lots of screws up with a screwdriver, you always get a blister in the middle of your hand. Unless you put a glove on, I suppose. But yeah, I've got an electric one now. Should get around that problem. And all these pieces of plywood that are going to be cut to size and everything like that. So they'll get their holes pre-drilled. So I haven't even got the drill out, get the drill out when I get home. It'll all be done. All I've got to do is stain it and then put the screws in to fit it together, and it's ready to go. So hopefully, I'd like that done this week, but I can't be pushy, you know. At the end of the day, I'm getting a big favour done. So yeah, we shall see. But I will keep you posted, obviously. It's going to make having the individual bonsai stands and that big set of staging not in the middle of the garden but over here nearer the house for the cymbidiums is going to change the look of the garden quite a bit. So which I'm sure you'll have a look. And if you've got any interest at all about what's going on outside of this glass structure, then obviously that's on the other channel. And right at the end of the video, I know this isn't the Sunday chat, but it is the Chatty One. Thanks for all the support on both of the channels. Yeah, so I don't get a chance on the other channel very often, but on this channel I do. So thanks for the people who offer the financial support, either as a YouTube member, not an efficient way of supporting the channel, but nonetheless a viable one and easy to set up apparently. Then I've got the Patreon site for patrons, where you can make a donation on there on a regular monthly basis, and they don't take very much of it away, so an awful lot more of it would come to me to help support, you know, the orchids and to a degree the garden. I must admit most of the plants in the garden have been donated as well. That's a form of support, but obviously they have to be in the UK. You can't start posting plants across borders, not anymore, not after Brexit. Yes, so thanks for that support, and thanks for the people who just, you know, watch the videos and leave comments. It's all appreciated. It all helps the channel's visibility to YouTube. And while YouTube see it as a viable channel that's growing, then it'll give it a bit of support by making it come up on searches and things like that. And if you're new into the channel, I doubt if you're still here. If this was the first video you found on this channel, this wouldn't be the best one to watch. This is more for my longer term viewers, these chatty ones. But nonetheless, if you're watching it and you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. Don't cost anything, despite the expression, sounds like it does. It's just a box that you tick basically. And if you don't switch notifications on, it will make no difference to your life and your world and your universe, but it will help the channel. And also, because we're at the end of the video, this is the point where everybody leaves the video and forgets. Don't forget the thumbs up. I know that seems pointless, but it isn't. It helps the channel. And that's your reminder. You know, if you haven't tick it now. It's just there, a little picture of a thumb. Ding. That's that bit done. And the other thing is, obviously, if you think any of my videos, not necessarily this one perhaps, not suitable, but more, you know, on the more educational ones or the instructional ones, if you've got friends or anything that you think might be interested, you're welcome to share any of my videos to other platforms, Facebook and various other things. Facebook's the only one I use apart from this. So there we go. So thank you for all the support. It is most appreciated. Most appreciated. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.